Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Layer by Layer, the show about 3D printing and our place inside the industry. Today we're going to talk about Tesla taking over VulcanForms, Markforged getting to pay a big ol' fine, and a million parts being 3D printed. But before that, let's go ahead and pay the bills. This episode is sponsored by the Slant 3D software plugins. Whether it be Shopify or Etsy, you are able to connect a giant print farm directly to your 3D printing business so that you don't have to build a factory yourself. So if you are running a business either on Etsy or Shopify, all you have to do is upload a few files, match them to your products, and then whenever that product is ordered, that order will be sent through to Slant 3D and we will print it, pack it, and ship it directly to your customer so you don't have to. So scale up your print farm operations today with the Slant 3D plugins. A lot of updates on those plugins, by the way, too. We now have PetG inside of them. But more on that later. Getting into the 3D printing news. Tesla veteran Kevin Castlecourt takes the helm at VulcanForms' new CEO. In major leadership shift, VulcanForms has appointed Kevin Castlecourt as new CEO and Jay Martin as president. This change comes at a crucial time as the company moves into its next growth phase, responding to the industry's growing need to combine digital and physical manufacturing methods. They also follow the departure of VulcanForms co-founder Martin Feldman, whose vision helped shape the company into the force it is today. Now, with Kevin Castlecourt taking the firm, VulcanForms plans to brings in over 25 years of experience in high-tech manufacturing environments. He spent 7 years at Tesla from 2012 to 2020, where he held key leadership roles, including VP of People and Places and Director of Infrastructure Development. His leadership was key in building Tesla's first cross-country network of supercharger stations and constructing multiple gigafactories. Afterward, he went to Redwood Materials as CEO, where he helped grow the company into a leader in battery recycling and refining. Okay, Castlecourt. I don't know the guy. Worked at Tesla. Seems to be doing a pretty good job. VulcanForms is a metal 3D printing company. And yeah, they've had a little bit of an upshake lately. But Castlecourt obviously worked at Tesla during the main ramp period. 2012 to 2020 is kind of a critical time in Tesla because that is from Model S through to production of Model 3 up through 2020 where it was miserable. Redwood Materials was created by Tesla co-founder who was the Tesla co-founder? He was the lead engineer at Tesla for a long time. J.B. Straubel. Straubel started Redwood Materials in order to recycle effectively Tesla batteries because they are a very high-grade source of lithium and other precious materials. So, so he worked at COO as Redwood Materials, effectively the business guy, and now he's over at Vulcan. That's probably a good decision. I mean, that's a good resume to help with a company like this. And it's also cool to have someone with that sort of industry cred moving into the 3D printing industry. We have a lot of great people working in this industry, but a lot of them grew up inside the industry. We haven't had a lot of people from other tech move into 3D printing in any sort of significant way. So this is cool in that regard. Next piece of news, Markforged to pay $25 million to Continuous Composites in lawsuit settlement. For those who are not aware, Continuous Composites is a northern Idaho company. I actually know a few of the guys over there, but the work they've done is interesting. They developed a form of composite 3D printing where you basically impreg resin into carbon and then print it out with a robot arm. They're very much kind of a patent licensing type of a company. I don't know if they've productized much of their tech. I think most of their revenue and work has been through licensing the tech to other companies to actually deploy. I'm not sure if they've input systems, but I could be wrong about that, and I don't want to misspeak, but I think licensing has been a big part of them, which is also why they fought this particular lawsuit. Metal Composites and 3D printer manufacturer Markforged announced that it had entered into a settlement and patent license agreement with Continuous Composites, effectively resolving all claims and counterclaims in their ongoing patent infringement litigation. The lawsuit, which began in July 2021, was pending before the United States District Court for the District of Delaware. Under the terms of the settlement agreement, Markforged will make an upfront payment of $18 million to Continuous Deposits in the fourth quarter of 2024. This will be followed by 3 additional installment payments of $1 million, $2 million, and $4 million in the fourth quarters of fiscal years 25, 26, and 27. In total, Markforged will pay $25 million to Continuous Composites. The agreement includes cross licenses of parties' respective patent portfolios, mutual releases of claims for liabilities arising prior to the date, and mutual covenants not to sue. Additionally, Markforged has granted Continuous Composites a security interest in certain assets, including its patent intellectual property rights. The settlement agreement acknowledges that neither party admitted to any liability or wrongdoing concerning the claims alleged in court. So, basically, everybody said, we're not going to fight about this anymore. Let's just say, call it even. We're going to pay you a bunch of money, but we didn't do anything wrong. And we're going to share IP back and forth. So Continuous Composites will be able to get access to Markforged patent portfolio. There's not much that they will probably do with that, except to say that Markforged is not going to sue us into the future now because we're allowed to use anything that's similar to their stuff, and we're not going to sue them anymore. So it's a mutual, okay, we both kind of helped out with carbon fiber development. We're both doing the same stuff. We're going to keep on going our ways, but if we happen to overlap, we're not going to sue each other. And since Markforged probably did kind of technically infringe on patents, even though that's not admitted in court, they're going to get along here. So that's all good stuff. But yeah, Continuous Composites developed composite resin printing, and then Markforged did their, I think the patent in this case was around deploying fibrous material inside of a 3D print, which Markforged started doing with their newer machines that were able to print apart and then embed basically a continuous carbon fiber inside of it, and Continuous Composites had the patent on that. So yeah, there's that. Next one, 1 million dental parts 3D printed by Carbon and Keystone. Carbon and Keystone Industries just hit a milestone with the successful production of 1 million dental parts. Let's see here. Using 11,200 liters of Keystone materials, they manufacture custom parts like night guards, surgical guides, dental try-ins, gingival masks, and sports guards, all produced using Carbon's DLS technology. The shift to, The 3D printing has led to faster, more personalized care for patients, including the production of custom dental appliances like night guards and surgical guides, which once took weeks using traditional methods can now be completed in days. Thanks to this innovation, the efficiency is a key driver of the growth of the 3D printing market, which generated $4 billion in revenue in 2022, according to a report from Additive Manufacturing Research, accounting for nearly 1/3 of overall additive manufacturing market. So yeah, we've talked about this lots of times before. The fact that dental is a huge segment of 3D printing, which is why everybody and their grandma started making a dental 3D printer. Because 30% of the market right now, 3D printing as an industry is worth about $18 billion. About $1 billion of that is consumer machines. And then half of it is industrial machinery. And then apparently a third of it is dental parts and then materials and stuff scattered out through there. That's hilarious when you think about that differentiation, that like consumer machines that everybody's like, those are going to be the thing, are so small, and dental, which everybody in the industry is aware is a big thing, but you don't realize how big until you hear 1/3 of all of 3D printing is dental. So that's why everybody ran after it for the last 4 years or so. It really got broken out with Smile Direct Club before they went out of business, but everybody else has been messing around with it as well. But $4 billion in revenue. It is important to note that these dental parts are actual real dental parts. They are printing from the printer things that are shoved into people's mouths. So mouth guards, sleep guards, that kind of stuff. So they take a scan of your teeth, which all dentists have. Every orthodontist or dentist ends up scanning your teeth at some point now. Not through x-rays, but through like actual scans. And then they are able to take that, turn it into the guard, and print out that guard like overnight inside of the dental office itself. And that then can be given to the person, and the person can wear it. So Keystone develops those type of mouth-safe materials, and Carbon has the machines that can produce it quickly and reliably. So interesting stuff going on there. 1 million parts, great milestone. Good for you guys. It's adorable. No kidding. I shouldn't cast shade. We've made a lot of parts, but and maybe more. But that's okay. It's good to make 1 million parts once in a while. Good to make 1 million parts once in a while. Okay, product updates, API announcement. Yes, the API, the Etsy plugin, and the Shopify plugin now all have white and black PETG available. So if you are looking for functional parts or print on demand, more durable parts, whatever you're kind of looking for, outdoorsy kind of items, hot location kind of items, PETG is now available for those items. Traditional black and white PETG, automatic pricing, all you do is upload the model and you will immediately get a quote for each one of those items when you're in the Etsy or the Shopify plugin. So those are available. Big expansion of the plugin overall. We're really excited about it, and we're glad we were able to get this out before Christmas. We weren't sure we were going to have time for it because we've been really busy with the core stuff. But yes, PETG is now available on all of our software services. So if you have an Etsy store and you've been holding off trying us out because we don't have the material that you need, PETG is now available. In addition to that, we also dropped a couple of new colors. Up until this point, we have had black, white, light gray, red, yellow, matte black, and now we have also introduced metallic gold. And in fact, that's, right here. Metallic gold is now available. It's a beautiful silk gold, and it is in fact Overture silk gold. So if you want to do test prints, you can at home, but just buying this off of Amazon, that's fine. We've had a great supply relationship with Overture for a while, so we're very happy to have them be the supplier of this particular material. We know it's reliable, we know it's consistent, we know it prints well and produces good parts. But yes, that is the announcement. All of our software services, whether it is Etsy plugin, Shopify plugin, the API for developers who are making some cool stuff, which some cool stuff is going to start dropping from there. The developers have started to do some nifty things. But all of that is dropping soon, other people are making some cool stuff. But you now have extra materials and extra colors available across all of those services. And if you're looking for like test pricing, you can go to our print on demand app on the website where you just upload a model and immediately get it. We don't scrape you even for an email. You get a quote for the thing for free. It's really easy to see and try and all the rest of it. We don't believe in data scraping to try to mine emails from people messing around with stuff. If you order the part, then we have to get your contact information to ship it to you. So if you're not happy with the service, we don't see it and we don't pay attention. Big. That's the first kind of major product expansion of those software services. We've been really, really careful about it up to this point because we wanted to make sure that everybody who was using existing colors and stuff were doing well. But right now, all systems are running smoothly. Most parts are shipping in about 3 days, or under 3 days, I should say. So the lead time is really good. We think we have the capacity to make sure that everybody maintains 3 days all the way through to the Christmas season. It's possible that lead times might expand there, but still. All of these services are really intended to allow people to not have to build print farms if they don't want to. Because if you're running an Etsy store or a Shopify store or anything else, there's a lot of work. You have to create photos, create the products, find new products, design new products, take the photos and descriptions and that kind of thing, list them all around, make sure the marketing and advertising is working well, pay your taxes, and then when the order comes through, whether it's every day or once a week, you have to interrupt your life to print, pack, and ship that order. We can at least take the print, pack, and shipping out of your hands so that you can have that be passive and have somebody else take care of it. Kind of like having somebody else run servers for your website. And then you can focus on designing new products that are really good and improving the marketing and the customer support, which are the big parts that people can really differentiate their business with, especially right now in 3D printing. The printing is all the same. That guy down there has a bunch of Bamboo Labs and you have a bunch of Bamboo Labs. There's no competitive advantage there. So just offload it to somebody else to do it. But yeah, all of those services are available. We're really excited about what they enable because introducing PETG now lets a lot more functional parts come through than before. Because yes, when it's just PLA, it's just basic kind of decor stuff. So we've had a lot of fidget dragons, a lot of vases, and other stuff produced through the system so far. But no, introducing PETG is a whole new category now for everybody using these services. And we're really excited to see what y'all will create. And hopefully we can continue to enable a bunch of nifty businesses to grow up without having to do all the infrastructure themselves. So that is that big API update. And we did do a whole video about that announcement separately. So if you want to go check that out, you can. And of course, in addition to this, with all of our print-on-demand services, we have released, at this point the site should be live, we've released slantpod.com, SlantPod. slantpod.com. The Slant Pod website is about creating business for 3D print-on-demand products. So you will find new information about the apps and what their capabilities are. But we're going to that and the Slant 3D print-on-demand channel are both places to talk about the business of 3D printing. So we're putting out more content over there. Mainly, we're reviewing Etsy stores, giving tips about that, talking about Shopify and the pitfalls with that. Ways to market 3D printed goods, where to find good files, how to design good products and descriptions. All of that information is going over on the Slant Print on Demand channel and the slantpod.com website. We're separating it out from Slant 3D because Slant 3D itself has always been a mass production company. But with these new software services, that's kind of a new category. And old engineers who have been using us for producing 100,000 parts don't care about you Shopify sellers. So we're kind of splitting stuff out so that we can also give more resources to people who are doing Shopify and Etsy, and also have a nice focused site for everybody who's doing production and deep engineering and that kind of stuff. So a bit of a separation. Boy, right now that gives us 3 YouTube channels. We have the Slant 3D core channel, welcome, where we mainly talk about engineering and design and how to use 3D printing from an engineering standpoint. We have Tangled Testing, which is intended to be the very extreme version of the engineering, where we go down to actual analysis of stuff and breaking dog bones. We're working to expand that out and keep it in flow, but there's many videos over there. And then we have Slant Print on Demand, which is a channel about the business of using 3D printing on demand services like ours and selling on Etsy and creating good products. So it's more about product design, business, marketing is the Slant Print on Demand channel. So 3 YouTube channels, all of them are getting a decent number of videos. Tangled Testing is going to start ramping again here in like a month or so. We've got a lot of tests stored up. They're all going to start dropping there. And then the Slant Print on Demand channel has a lot of videos coming out right now. It's in the early stages where we're feeling it out and trying types of content to see what wins and what you guys are interested in. So go over there and check it out. It has only been up for about 3 weeks. So yeah, check it out. It's a good channel. Some useful info over there. Breaking if you're an Etsy seller. Okay. Discussion topic of the day: how to price products in your 3D printing business. This has come up a lot, and this is topical given the Print on Demand channel. We've talked about this a bunch over there, so I wanted to talk about it over here a little bit. So, pricing of products. We'll start with pricing of products in general. There's 2 major ways that people price products. Neither one is necessarily wrong, but one is better than the other. The way most people default to pricing products is they look at their costs of goods. They say, well, I put in $2 worth of materials and I put in and then $5 worth of shipping. So that costs $7. So I'm going to charge $8. That way I make $1 out of 8, which is about 15%. I'm making good money. That is the most basic version of pricing. And within that presentation of it, there is a giant glaring error in that, number 1, 15% is not enough margin. Number 2, in what I just laid out, human time was not included. You did not value your time. The cost of the 3D printing is not the cost. How much time did it take you to turn on that machine, to pack the box? How much space does it take up when you're not at work thinking about the business, that kind of stuff? Your time has value, and your time has value of at least what you are currently being paid for at your job. So if you're a part-time 3D printing person, whatever you get paid at your job, that's your hourly rate to run the 3D printer business. Now, if you're a hobbyist, that's all fine and dandy, but we're not talking about hobbyists. We're talking about businesses. So if you're a small business trying to get going, you should be making at least a 25% margin. That is survivable. That is not good. A good margin is 50%. So if you're going to do cost of goods plus some margin, 50% is good, 25% is okay, but not necessarily good. You better be moving a lot of margin or moving a lot of volume. So if you're going to price from the bottom up, then add on 25 to 50% margin. 50% is very good. Now, the other thing, when pricing all of this stuff. A lot of first-time entrepreneurs and first-time business owners get caught up in overpricing, and they're like, that's too expensive because it only cost me this too much. Get out of that thought process right now. That is incorrect and very dangerous. You'll create a business that fails because you'll just burn out. The time of labor is not your time. It is your time plus the cost of somebody else doing the work for you. Because if it's just your time, you are just self-employed. You do not have a business. If it is your time plus the cost of somebody doing the work for you, now you have a business that is sustainable. Because for a business to be sustainable, you have to be able to pay for the thing to be made, which includes somebody putting it together, the time and effort and labor of creating the thing. Then there is normal overhead, which is rent, which, by the way, includes the rent of your house, technically, if you're building a business. Amortization of machines. You bought a bunch of 3D printers, but they're only going to run for 1 year before they burn out. Therefore, you have the cost of machine included inside of that. And then your management cost, because you are going to be thinking of new products and that kind of stuff. If you are able to cover the cost of all of those categories of labor and cost of production of goods, depreciation of equipment and that kind of thing over time, and then paying yourself in order to operate this company and change out other people in case your labor ever quits on you, get sick and die, or whatever it happens to be. The robots haven't taken over yet. Until you have all of those stable, you do not have a viable business. You have to make sure that you're paid, that your employee is paid, that the machines are paid off, that the rent is paid, and that you have employees and depreciation paid for. All of those are invisible for new startups or new small businesses, especially if you're a 3D printing business starting on Etsy, because it's going to start with your 3D printer in your home office or your garage with you doing the time and labor. So it looks like it's wildly profitable because you're not going to pay yourself anything directly. You're going to see all the profits and say, I made $1,000, but you didn't pay yourself anything explicitly. You're going to take the $1,000. But if you take the $1,000, the business did not make any money. But you're going to be living rent-free inside of a garage with your hobby 3D printer doing your hobby. Therefore, all of the costs of time and the rest of it seem invisible. And that means you will not have a business. Because when you go to grow up, you're going to have to start paying rent. And then you're going to have to start paying employees and all the rest of it. It is just simply easier when pricing the product to bake that all into pricing. Otherwise, your business will grow and you'll be making 50 cents a part. And it's great while it's just you because you're making $1,000 from selling whatever, 500 parts or something. And then you're going to hire somebody and all your profits will disappear. And then in 3 months, you'll shut down the business. Or you have to go rent a space because you can't stay in the garage anymore. And then you got to go pay off the business. Electricity has just increased from part of your normal computer usage to a print farm running on it. So now you can't afford it and everything else. So at the very beginning of pricing the product, make sure your costs of the product include everything. Rent, labor, management, depreciation, all of those things. And over on the POD site, we'll probably go into those in more depth around like depreciation because that's a subtle one that people don't really realize because depreciation can be calculated. This machine will produce 100 or 500 or 1,000 parts over its lifetime. Therefore, if it costs $500 and it produces 500 parts, it costs $1 per part for that machine to make a part. That's a simple way to do depreciation. There's other ways that accountants will pitch to you, but they're wrong. So that is the bottom-up pricing method. That's all fine and good and dandy if you are making some functional item that everybody else kind of knows what the price is and you're trying to be competitive or something. A better form of pricing, which is much more oogie-boogie and requires knowledge of the industry and what people want, is top-down pricing. This is jewelry. This is fashion. This is good design, that kind of stuff. The cost to make an expensive purse, or the cost to make a pair of Nikes is $25, but people pay $200 for them. That has nothing to do, their pricing has nothing to do with the cost of manufacture. That they are not generic sneakers. They have a brand and they have a value in the person's mind that is higher than the cost of manufacturing. So in the context of brands, it's how valuable is that status. But in the context of like products, even functional products, you could look at like Apple versus Dell. Why does Apple get to charge $800 for a laptop and Dell gets to charge $400 for a laptop? Brand is there as well. But as a functionalist buyer, who I will admit has a Mac laptop, as a functionalist buyer, for me, it was about quality of build. I was just like, this is something that is very important in my life. I don't want it to ruin my life. Windows laptops have always gone slow for me over time, had terrible antivirus and all the rest of it. So the value of the Mac is enough to justify its cost. Do I wish it would cost $400? Yes. Is it the end of the world to me that it's $800? No. Because as a professional who needs my stuff to work when I need it to work and need things to not create friction in my life, it's worth the extra cost there. This is just a functional component. So Apple, who is selling to a professional, is like, a professional will purchase this just to not have to deal with the hassle of getting the correct antivirus up and running and having to deal with an update on every Thursday morning, whether I want to or not. They understand that they are building a tool as well as a functional branded device. I don't really care about the Apple brand that much. I don't need the status symbol. But for me, functionally, that laptop was worth the extra cost because it feels very comfortable. It's more durable. I looked, guys, this is side tangent because I recently bought this laptop. I wanted to get a Windows, but I looked around at all the Windows machines and I couldn't find one that was as well built as the MacBook, that was lightweight, rigid and solid and reliable, and just kind of worked out of the box because I didn't have time to go through and do the nerd thing and set it all up, or configure it or any of the rest of the things. So yeah, that was just valuable to me. I think I got off track here, but yeah, pricing of the product, you can charge more for a product when it's really worth it to people, if you're really solving a pain for them. So here's a different example. A seed planter. A little a dibber. I think it's called a dibber, which is the thing that you poke into the ground and it makes a hole for your seed, and then you drop a seed in there. The alternative is pushing it in with your finger. Now, the cost to make this little hole poke in 3D print is about $1. So most 3D printing people would say, well, I'll charge $2 for it, and that's fair. But to the person poking the hole, to digging the hole, that shovel is really, really valuable. So they'll pay you up to $10 to relieve that labor for them, especially if you're able to get in front of them ahead of someone else. So understanding value, to get there, you either, like I say, need to understand brand or understand value. You understand value by being in the industry. If you are the seed planting guru and you're like, I know that everybody else sells dibbers for $25. So if I 3D print mine for $1, I can still sell it for $25 and no one will notice or care about my pricing. I might even take $1 off and I'll be cheaper than everybody else and still making good margins. This is a very common situation, and these are the type of products that you search for. The other one is brand. Yes, if you understand brand is really just a certain amount of feel. Like Kanye can charge a lot for his stuff because he knows what it's worth. But all the other things, but the random new artists can't charge anything for their stuff because nobody knows them and there's no value in brand. The value of brand is tested, experimented with, and found out. Taylor Swift would have sold a bunch of tickets at $200, but apparently can sell just as many tickets for $1,500. This is brand. It doesn't really make sense, and you only know until you try it. Once you try it. So that is that. But yes, many folks inside of 3D printing and running 3D printing businesses price incorrectly. They start with the cost of goods. They lie to themselves about cost of time. And then they add on $1 or something to it. But again, baseline, if you're doing cost, you need to have at least a 25% margin, and 50% is safe. 90% if you ever want to go into retail. And this is another thing. If you're starting an Etsy store and you're selling like lamps, if it costs you $30 to make that lamp and you want to take it to retail at some point, sell it in furniture stores, you need to sell it for $90 if it costs you $30 to make. Because that means you can wholesale it for $60 and then the retailer can sell it for $90, and they make 30%, they make 30%, or they make 50% and you make 80%. So that retail has so many people with fingers in the pie that your pricing has to be higher. So you can't just have your margin, you have to have your margin and then everybody downstream margin. If you're going through a broker, they're going to take another 10% out of it all, so on and so forth. So knowing what your business is ahead of time will be really useful in setting your price up front so that a year from now, you don't have to increase prices. Another good example of this, cookie cutters. 3D printed cookie cutters should be sold for never less than $5. The reason I know this is because we have made and produced thousands of cookie cutters for Etsy and Shopify stores. And $5 is perfectly fine because many of them are selling these cookie cutters for like $15. Some of them do them custom and they sell them for $35. This is very common. Cookie cutters, if the 3D printed item didn't exist, that cookie cutter wouldn't exist. You don't have to charge rock bottom prices. Make a poodle cookie cutter. There's no other poodle cookie cutter out there. The buyer has the option of $9 for the cost of the thing or nothing. To a lot of folks, $9 is worth it. And for you as a business, think about it. Is it easier to get 3 people to buy or easier to get 1 person to buy who really values the thing? A lot of businesses would make the argument that you want to fight for the 1 rather than trying to win the 3, who will also be disloyal because if they see another poodle that's 10 cents cheaper, they're going to move over there and buy that one. So you don't even want to be in that price game. Make a good quality product and charge as much as you can for it. It is not wrong to charge a lot for a product. And this is something people should get a hold of too. If your product has value and people are willing to spend the money to get it, and whatever you want to charge is fine so long as people are still buying it. No one is twisting anyone's arm to purchase your products. And if they aren't selling at a current price, you can attempt lowering prices to see if you get more sales. That is part of the experimentation of business. But it is not wrong to raise your prices as high as the market will allow you to go. That is the game that you're in. If you were a monopoly, sure, that can be a problem. But anybody running an Etsy or Shopify store probably is not a monopoly. So you don't have to worry about the ethical or philosophical constructs of mega business. So yes, hopefully that covers up pricing. Don't go, if you're familiar with your industry or you understand a brand, you can go from top down. You know what it costs out there and you match that price regardless of what your cost of goods are. If you have created an invention and you're trying to price it for the first time and you're going from cost of goods, make sure you have a 25 to 50% margin at least. And if you're going into retail, add that up to 60 or 70% margin on it. So because other people are going to take half of that. So that's the baseline. And then of course, if you're starting up a business, make sure you're truthful to yourself about your time. It is not your time to make the good. It is your time plus the time of hiring an employee. If you don't have an employee, you don't have a business. So make sure that you are modeling, constructing, and pricing in order to create a sustainable business. Hopefully that was helpful, guys. Comment down below other parts about business or like selling on Etsy or creating Shopify stores that you would like to know about. Again, big updates to all of the plugins. So if you haven't tried them out in a little while, we have PETG available and now metallic gold and a bunch of other cool colors over there now, which are big updates. And last but not least, Tangled Filament will be shutting down here at the end of September. So if you want any final PLA black filament, you'll need to buy it before the end of September in order to get a hold of it. Because after that, we're not going to remake any other batches. We're going to be too busy with Christmas and making a bunch of gold metallic parts, hopefully. So other than that, have a great day, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend and see you at the next video.